What's up, everybody? Brad Petty back again from NPi Entertainment. I am sitting down with Terry Urban, my friend, who currently resides in Los Angeles. What's up, Terry?
What's up, Bradley? How
So
are you, buddy?
I'm well. Terry and I met probably about, if I had to guess, maybe 15 years ago.
Something like that, dude. 15, yeah, gotta be.
I remember actually the first time I met you, it was at Cloud 9 on West 9th Street in Cleveland, Ohio. And you were DJing, and I think it was like a happy hour party because it was early on, and afterwards you sat at the bar, and it was me and Jude and you, and we were all sitting there talking, and he had known you, and I got introduced to you. I don't know how I remember that. I think I kind of remember the first time I meet each of my DJ friends. So I was thinking
Yeah,
about that
absolutely.
today.
I feel the same way about that. I always remember the first time that we meet each other and shit like that. As far as any kind of DJs like that, yeah, it's weird how that works like that. Also, I
And
was just talking about Cloud9 the other day too. That's so weird that you brought that up.
and maybe I don't know if it was Cloud 9 or Anatomy, but it was that venue, that same spot.
Yeah,
Did you play at Cloud 9?
absolutely. That was
Okay.
actually my first. That was my first like paying gig was Cloud9 because Mick now, he was DJing with Arnold Hines, who was the club promoter.
Yep.
And they heard about, or I was already DJing there, and then Arnold kind of was like, "Hey, do you want to jump on this night?" And I was like, "Yeah, sure." And that's how I met Mick as well, and that was my first paying gig.
Okay. So it was
Yeah.
probably Cloud 9. That was a cool spot. I remember I think it was Jody was the owner.
Yes, Jody. Yeah, yeah.
And then so that's still around now. It's the park. I don't know if you've ever been there.
No, I have not.
It's still
Oh
kind of
yeah,
cool.
it's the same thing as it used to be in Cloud9,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah,
It's
just
got an upper level.
different owner and kind of the same thing. I was looking at your Wikipedia, and it probably was around the same. That was probably around the same time. So you were born in Cleveland. You graduated from school. You moved to San Diego to pursue a career in skateboarding, try to become a pro, right?
Yeah, well, when I got out of high school, I was skating throughout high school. And when I got out of high school, me and my homie, we drove across to San Diego and wanted to become pro skaters. We were living with a bunch of pro skaters in San Diego, like in this whole development, like this is like 96, I think, 97 maybe. And it was like World Industries, all the pros out there, like Chad Knight and all these cats like that. Mark Johnson, all these Maple guys. It was a bunch
Yep.
a bunch of Southern Cal skaters, and I was out there for a couple of years, and I was 18, dude. I didn't know what the hell I was doing out there.
Right.
Just skating and partying, basically. That was kind of my college years, basically. Which I didn't go to college, but those were my college years.
When I was little, I went on a trip to San Diego with my my cousins, and I took my skateboard. And at night, when the family was just like chilling, watching movies or whatever, I'd go skate around the neighborhoods of San Diego. And then like during the day, we'd go to like Mission Beach and
Oh yeah, totally.
and
Yeah,
like Pacific Beach and all the
yeah,
different spots. And I remember seeing
yeah.
these dudes just like ripping it up.
Yeah, man, that was crazy that you brought that up because PB was like one of the best spots to hang out and chill. But there was a lot of tweakers back then too, and I remember seeing like Steve Olson and all these cats like skating down the street, and I was like in awe back then. You know, it was crazy.
I remember I met a guy. I was skating at some school by myself. It's like nighttime, and I met some dude, and I can't remember who he said he lived with. He's like, "Oh yeah, he was skating too, and he was older." He's like, so and so, and I'm like, "Yeah." He's like, "That's my roommate. Come on, I'll give you some T-shirts." And we went to his house, and he
Yeah.
started pulling out all these clothes and just giving them to me.
That's how it was back then, though, dude. The flow was crazy back then, as far as like being, if you're riding amateur or riding pro,
Yeah,
like we all had free clothes all the time.
yeah, the good old days, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Just like the record industry, getting tons of free music and really everything else.
Absolutely. Well, when I moved back home to Cleveland after San Diego, because I think I got busted by the cops, I think it was, and I had a warrant out for my arrest. And I moved back. I paid my whatever the worn off, and then moved back home to Cleveland, and then that's when I started DJing. And then I'm kind of going forward a little bit, but yeah, I used to work for 107.9 back in the day, and that's when we were getting free records all the time too. Just records shipped to you constantly all the time.
You know, it's funny as you mentioned Mick. I went to I remember when he was living above House of Blues, and I went to like a 4th of July party or something he was doing, and he had all his crates of records out, and he's like, man, I just want to get rid of those. This is when I think Final Scratch came out or whatever the first thing was. And I ended up just buying them from him and putting them all in my truck that day.
Are you serious?
Like I bought like 10 crates of records, and they're all like, 12-inch promos and stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, I think I remember that actually, because I was living right next door to Nick at that time. And I think we were both moving to New York at that time as well, because we wanted to get rid of a bunch of our records. Well, almost all of our records, because because New York is a very minimal kind of place to live, so you couldn't have crates and crates of records.
Right.
So you were,
yeah. So when I met you, you were in Cleveland, you were DJing. That led to 107.9, and then that also led to, what was it? Sirius, or you had?
It was 107.9, and then it turned into Sirius satellite radio. Like I got a gig doing that too, like on Shade 45, and then doing like parties for LeBron James, like birthday parties, Halloween parties, barbecue. It just got to the point where I reached a plateau with Cleveland. I was like, I can't do this anymore, dude. So I moved to New York to, pursue a career in DJing to another level than what Cleveland could do for me. Cleveland did it as much as possible for me. They couldn't do anything more. So I had to move somewhere where there was more connects.
Right. Which is usually the case. You kind of reach the top in Cleveland, and then got to go to a bigger market and meet some more people and be in the right circles. And so you DJ'd in New York for how long would you say you were playing out in New York?
Oh man, probably I lived there for 12 years, I think. So probably most of that time, I was living in Brooklyn, moved to Brooklyn, and I lived in Brooklyn the whole time I moved or lived in New York. I lived in Brooklyn, like all 12 years.
Yeah.
I lived in Park Slope, I lived in Williamsburg, and I lived in Bushwick. And for that whole period of time, I think 1 year was the last year that I lived there. I wasn't DJing at all. So I was DJing that whole time. So I'd say 12 years or so.
So 12 years, that was probably
DJing in New York.
Yeah, so that was like probably when Williamsburg was like popping off, and like the indie dance rock scene was going off, and all the
it was a lot of open format, dude. There was a lot of open format at that time period, and then there was a lot of like you said, indie stuff,
Well, and the funny thing about open format then versus open format now is open format then 12 years ago was like what I really consider open format. Like you're playing the Strokes into into MIA, into the Clash, into Biggie, whatever. Now open format, like everyone just says they play open format, but they're pretty much just playing all hip hop.
Yeah.
And then like EDM at 1 a.m.
An 80 BPM tempo and then a 120 BPM tempo.
Right.
Yeah.
I miss those days of like real open format, which goes back to like the beginning of DJing, which is a whole
absolutely, like during that whole DJ AM time,
Right. So one thing we skipped over, when you were skating and DJing at the beginning, you were also really into graffiti. When did that start?
Watching videos, skateboard videos, like Zoo York videos and like blind videos, and you always heard like 90s hip hop or like punk, or like surf rock. There was a lot of graffiti influence in it, and there was a lot of scratching influence in it. So I think that has a lot to do with how I got into DJing and then how I got into graffiti. Graffiti was just me being bored, basically, and hooking up with some dudes that were already writing graffiti. And then it went from drawing on black books, writing my name on black books, to hopping over fences and into train yards and painting on trains, and running from cops. So Yeah, it got to that level. I was a total graph rat for a long time, but then DJing kind of pushed me out of that because I saw how I was talented enough to DJ too. So also I saw that I was able to get paid DJing and I didn't have to run from the cops anymore.
Right.
So I basically put art on the back burner after I realized that graffiti wasn't going to pay me any money, and DJing was doing all the work for me, you know, which was put on the table. So I kind of put art on the back burner at that time, and that was like 15 years ago or so. I don't know, 20 years ago.
I was going to say, fast forward 15, 20 years, and now it's kind of reversed.
Absolutely reversed, dude. It's so weird because I'd say about 5-6 years ago, I started painting again, and it's like in Wizard of Oz when Dorothy's goes from black and white to color, you know, in Wizard of Oz. That's how it felt for me. I think it was just that time period in my life where I needed some kind of creative outlet that was different than going to One Oak and DJing and just having the manager screaming in your ear to play this song 5 times because this guy just bought a bottle.
Right.
That's gonna, you know what I'm saying? I just got over it. It was like robot kind of skills at that time. I wasn't doing anything creative with it anymore. I was burnt out on it. So I needed some kind of other creative outlet. And when that paintbrush touched that canvas, dude, it was all over.
Do you think that the era of the dance music that you were in at that time played a part of it? I mean, that was probably like what, like during like dubstep and like really
I bailed,
really bad top 40, and yeah, like, do you think that
I bailed?
Yeah. Do you think that played a part?
When I bailed on DJing, it was EDM was just starting its craze where everybody was an EDM DJ, you know what I'm saying? And also you got to remember this, I was living in Tokyo too for a while. So I was going back and forth from Tokyo to New York for like 3 months. I'd be in Japan, 3 months I'd be in New York, and another 3 months in Japan, another 3 months in New York. So I was doing like 6 months out of the year in New York and then 6 months out of the year in Tokyo. So and in Tokyo, when I was playing in Tokyo, I was playing huge clubs in Tokyo, like 4-floor clubs, and you had to keep it banging all night long, you know, like for 2-3 hour sets, and you're completely burnt after that, you know, you're partying constantly all the time. So it was just like I was over it.
When you started painting, what did you do? You just locked yourself in your apartment and just started painting?
I tell the story to a lot of people as far as like when they ask me this question, and I was dating a Japanese girl at the time, and we had just broken up, and I went into like this, I don't know if I went into a state of depression because of her and my life, or it was just my life. I don't know what it was, but I went into this like 3-4 day, like laying in bed, like kind of depression, almost reaching 40 at that point. I think it was like, I was like 35, 36, you know, kind of like I don't want to call it a midlife crisis, but that's kind of what it sounded like to me.
Right.
But that's what it felt like to me. My buddy Anthony, he was like, hey, why don't you paint me something for my living room, you know? And I was like, I don't know if I want to open that can of worms, you know? And as soon as I did, dude, it was like a hard drive was like literally plugged into my brain and just like released all this info and like wisdom and openness as well, you know? Like I was open, I was looking at the streets more and like talking to people more and like looking at artwork that I never looked at artwork before that way. So it was just so wild. Like looking at Warhol, I knew who Warhol was, you know, but also looking at like Joan Moreau and shit like that, like people that I normally didn't look at. And I was starting to look at it that way because I understood how they felt and how they were painting now, you know, and the techniques that they were using. So it just opened up my mind to everything, dude. It made me more happy as a person as well.
Was your goal to sell art?
No, my goal at that time was to just be happy. So I was partying a lot, and I was in a dark time in my life. And I just needed, you know, I need some other kind of creative outlets. I had no idea what I was doing. I just knew I took my old skills that I had with art and kind of incorporated it into my new shit, and it was something new. It was creatively right there in front of me.
Right.
So I was like, it was instant creativeness, like onto a piece of paper, you know, this is real right here. This is something that I want to start to continue to do. And I'm a Gemini. So when I find something that interests me, I completely go down a huge wormhole, or, you know, way down, like Alice in Wonderland style,
Yeah.
and just examine and invest all my time into it. So that's what I did, you know. And then eventually, luckily enough, my followers of Instagram, they were stoked enough to see my artwork, and they were like, all right, shit, we're gonna keep following this one, you know. So
Yeah,
luckily it kind of piggybacked off.
That's perfect. So people who followed you because you're a good DJ loved your art as well.
Yeah. So I'm stoked that happened, because, you know, I could have been a great, I mean, I know I could DJ well, and I know a lot of people love my mixtapes. I could have been a shitty artist, you know. I could have been a real shitty artist.
Watch the followers go down.
Right, you know.
How did you take it to the next step? Obviously, you've got all these followers online, but then there had to have been something that you did to spark this next phase of your life and your career. You know, I've seen you've done collabs. You're selling art. You know, what was like the first thing that kind of jump started all that?
Probably when I sold my first piece. You know.
Yeah. So was it just like some random person?
Yeah, a lot of it was like giving away shit first, you know, like, yeah, I'll paint you something, you know, like something like that. But then eventually people started asking about my work, and I was like, oh, wait a second here, you know. And then I started doing art shows, and people started buying my art at art shows, and that's when I was like, okay, I'm gonna take my DJ entrepreneur like kind of vibe that I did there.
Yeah, your hustle.
And bring that hustle to the art game, and remember my do's and don'ts of that hustle as a DJ, and bring it to the art world. But I still don't know shit about the art world as it is, dude. There's so much to learn that I'm still learning about, well, you know.
Sometimes that's a good thing, and also it's a good thing that you had those skills from being a DJ, because a lot of times artists, you know, I deal with a lot of musicians. It's like a lot of times they don't know that side of the world, like when it comes to marketing and business and you know, how to create a buzz. You know, they're really good at just like creating something, but then they don't know what to do with it.
Brad, dude, I tell you what, dude, if I wish I had an agent, as far as emailing, as far as, you know, pitching out the ideas to certain people, you know, the collabs and all that, doing all the talking. I wish I had something like that, but so far I don't have anybody that does that for me. I have to do it on my own. So I've learned the do's and don'ts, or, you know, like the trade as far as doing the hustles on the left brain side and the right brain side.
Right.
So the next step for me, Brad, is to get someone to do that for me. So all I have to do is create the rest of my life. You know what I'm saying? And they can just make the money for me.
Well, yeah, it's always nice when you can just focus on what you do best, right?
Right.
Tell me about some big things that have happened with you in the art world. I mean, I follow you online, and I see, you know, going to different places and working with different companies and whatnot. I don't know. Can you just talk about a few things that you've done?
Murals for like clothing lines, like Rag and Bones. So and then like doing collabs with like artists as far as like wearing leather jackets and stuff like that. Like, I think one of the big things that's happened as far as like people knowing my artwork is this jacket that I painted a long time ago, like 3 years ago, I think it was. It was this jacket that I painted. It's this white leather, and it has skulls on it. It said "Never Say Die" on it. But it just so happened that the company that I work with, For Those Who Sin, they lent the jacket out to Lil Peep, who is a rapper that passed away a couple years ago, he wore the jacket for a video shoot, and he never gave the jacket back. The stylist never grabbed the jacket, nothing else. And we were like, yo, where's the jacket? You know, and they're like, oh yeah, we'll get it, you know. But we never got the jacket, and he just so happened to wear it constantly all the time, dude. So there's pictures of him with it on, there's video with him on, and then now there's the Netflix documentary with it. He's in it, the jacket's in it the whole time.
You know what's funny is I just, and this wasn't even planned, I just watched that like 2 nights ago.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
and I didn't even know the story, but I knew instantly it was your artwork from. I
yeah.
think like you probably posted that artwork before, right? Or maybe I just knew your
Yeah.
style. I don't know.
Well, it was crazy because when he passed, you know, every for some reason, oh no, we did like a remembrance, like a remembrance for him, like kind of like a. I think we did like a release of like the leather jacket because people kept asking me about it. I think it's been so long ago, but I think people were DMing us all the time, like, "Hey, do you know anything about this jacket?" Like blah blah blah. And we were like, "Damn, we should probably do like a something for him, you know, as far as when Pete passed, and maybe release a couple jackets." And then when we did that, dude, it was like basically like a Supreme release, dude. People like they sold out within like I think it was like 15 seconds, maybe. They
Whoa.
sold out. I think it was like I don't know how many jackets we did, like 30 jackets or something like that. So we hand painted all those jackets. Anyway, so yeah, that was probably a big you know, thing for me as far as people knowing my artwork. You know, murals and other collabs with other people as well, you know. And I'm still trying to collab, you know, trying to do a Vans collab, trying to do anything cool like that collab, you know.
Have you done, obviously the Lil Peep is in the music industry, but coming from the music industry, have you circled back and done or
Album
talked
artwork.
like albums or talked to any artists about even other clothing or things like that? Like, has that come up?
Yeah, absolutely, all the time. From I mean, I've done jackets for Migos, Jay Blavin, you know, like all those Bad Bunny, all those dudes, you know, did that. I can't really talk about it right now, but I've got an album cover coming up. Hopefully, fingers crossed. So yeah,
Nice.
but yeah, you know, I took those connections with the music industry, you know, and obviously brought that in with me somehow. I would love to do album artwork all the time, dude. You know, because being a DJ, you know how it is, dude. When you're digging through the crates,
Yeah.
looking for whatever, and you see an album cover, and you immediately are attracted to the album cover, and then you're obviously going to be stoked on the music. Maybe, you know, I love album covers, and I would love to do more as far as that is concerned. Yes.
So are you totally done with like, do you ever get hit up for DJ gigs? And like, if you do, what do you say?
Yeah. Well, yeah, people hit me up all the time for DJ gigs. I still do that party in Cleveland. You know, I got five on it. That's party's been running for probably 15 years now. I think it is.
Yeah.
So I still do that because it's just fun to do, you know, and it's good to go home and see the family and my friends. So I'm still doing that once a month. But other than that, dude, I'm not taking any gigs unless it's like super, super, super high pay and a good look, you know,
Yeah.
or it's a place that I've never been before. Like I remember I did this gig for these guys I did a wedding for his daughter and I did a wedding for his son within the next 2 years of each other. But both places were so sick. And the second one, they're like, "Hey, do you want to do this?" And I was like, I don't know. And they're like, "Well, it's in Maine." I was like, "Oh shit." I was literally that day looking up trips to Maine. And I was like, "All right, I'm taking it." You know?
Nice. So
So if it's stuff like that, yeah.
destination DJ gigs you're down with.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
Nice.
But other than that, I'm just burnt on it, bro. I'm so burnt.
So you
I
left.
mean, I miss it though. I miss it sometimes, you know?
I mean, I feel like once a DJ, always a DJ. It's in your blood.
Absolutely.
I always think
Absolutely.
it's funny when I see my friends post something like this year or like today I retired from. I'm like,
Well, it's like Jordan. Yeah.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Exactly. You know what's crazy, Brad, is I don't know if you do this or not, but every time I go to a club or like a bar or anything like that, I'm immediately I'm 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 antisocial until I start getting a little liquor in me, but I immediately go to the DJ booth and like hang out by the DJ booth, you know?
It's like
I'm
it's
always
like
that
your
dude like
comfort zone.
it is, dude. And this is been like that for years, dude. It's a total comfort zone. It's like a wall that you can just protect yourself on. It's so
Well,
weird.
like when I was young, before I even started DJing, and I would go to parties, I would always go straight to the stereo and just like try to take over.
Try to take over.
You know what I mean?
Yep.
Like popping
Yep.
CDs in and like just basically DJing.
Yeah, absolutely, dude. I remember when I was little, I would listen to like Belle Biv and I forget what the college radio station was, but dude, I would literally take a tape deck and record whatever it was, and I had a double cassette tape, you know, like 1 and 2,
Yeah.
and I would record from one tape to the other tape and hit like the rewind button, like I was scratching and shit on there.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
would just make my own mixtapes before I even knew what turntables were about, you know?
Yeah, for sure. I did the same thing. Um,
Wild.
so you left, when I started this interview out with you, I said that you're in LA. So you left New
Oh yeah.
York after 12 years and went
Yeah.
to, recently, right?
January 1st, I moved out here. Yeah.
What sparked the move?
I was tired of not being in nature constantly, dude. I got the nature bug in me a couple years ago. I think it's when I started painting too. I got the nature bug in me, and I kept going out West Coast to like explore mountain ranges and, you know, go hiking and do gnarly nature shit. And I started noticing that I wasn't able to do it in New York as much as I wanted to, you know, because there's like upstate, and then you got like Vermont, and you got Maine and shit like that, which is dope. But I want big shit in my life, you know. I want big mountains, you know.
Yeah.
It's very hard. I'm a visual person, so it's very hard for me to be happy when shit's kind of mellow. I mean, I always want something better in my life. I always want to, you know, strive for the next goal or strive for the next mountain, shit like that. I'm
Yeah.
never trying to be chill for a minute, you know. So anyways, yeah, I figured like I wanted to do something, you know. I wanted to live somewhere where I could go to the beach every day or go to the mountains every weekend, you know. And California was it, and I took the step and was like, I'm moving, you know. I mean, granted, also For Those Who Sin is here too, the company that I work for.
Yeah.
And you know, these guys, they're literally right next door here, and I have my studio here in LA, and they have their studio right next door to me, and it's just like a couple creative dudes just trying to, you know, make it as far as the art game and as far as clothing wise, you know. So it's been great for us, and it's been great for me too, because I have creatives around me all the time.
You probably have a lot of connections out there too, I'd assume.
Yeah, I mean, for over the years as well. Yeah, for sure.
I know you said that you have something in the works that you can't really talk about yet.
Yeah,
Anything
but
that you can talk about?
I'm released. Well, since this COVID shit's been going on, bro, I've been releasing online for a while now. Like the past couple weeks, I've been releasing like 10 paintings, original paintings, not like prints, original
Right.
paintings, like for a low prices, like from like anywhere from like $200 to $400. And I'll release about 10 like a week, you know, like do like a soft launch. And I've been doing that. So I got a release this week coming up. I don't know when you're airing this, but I got one coming up on Thursday here. I'm just working on collections, you know, as far as like things that interest me. Like I just did a collection called Happy Trails, where it was all like Western vibed, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And I kind of wanted to do it because I had just moved out here to the West Coast, you know, and I'm looking at more like palm trees and cactuses and desert and stuff like that. So I kind of want to do a vibe with that. And now I'm doing a collection now where it's called Eve of Destruction. And obviously it has to do with like, you know, the whole shit that's going on right now with COVID. Yeah. And it's got a lot of hidden political, you know, agenda to it as well in the paintings. Yeah. So, I mean, you can see one right behind you right here.
Yeah.
Yeah, it says free doom with a skull with a barbed wire.
So if somebody follows you on Instagram, will they know when you're releasing art for sale?
Dude, I think I make probably 95% of my sales off of Instagram.
Okay.
Yeah, so I mean, if they follow me at Terry Urban, you know, yeah, you can figure out, you know, when I release stuff. Also at For Those Who Sin as well, the clothing brand that I work with closely. Yeah. So yeah, we're releasing shit all the time, dude. We don't do like seasonal releases. We do, you know, when we want to put it out, we put it out.
Do you limit, if you put up a print, that is popular. Do you always have like a limited run on prints?
Yeah, you do. You're supposed to do like, you know, whatever, however many you want, like 50 to 100 or 200, whatever you want to do. And usually people sell prints for like, you know, like $150 or something like that. But I don't like, I mean, prints are cool and all, but I feel like I'm not there yet as an artist, you know? I think I need to be a little bit more popular to when I release a set of prints that are like 100 prints and they sell out like that, you
But
know? I
haven't
don't
you
think
been
I'm,
doing that?
I did it. I did a run long time ago, and I just wasn't ready for it yet. And I don't think my fan base was ready for it as well, you know? So what I've been doing lately is I've been painting originals, you know, one of one originals. So people can have something that's just on their, whatever's hanging on their walls is only from
One of a
me.
kind.
One of a kind. Shit. Yeah. I
So
think people
if they bought a painting, how do they, this is probably a stupid question, but how do they get it from you? Like, do you just throw it in the mail?
Yeah, dude. I mean, sell a lot of my stuff on Instagram, you know, and then they just click the link to my website, which is terryurban.com, and they, you know, they order whatever they want, and then I get the package, or I package it up and ship it out, dude.
I mean,
Put
is
some
it like
stickers. What?
special packaging? I mean, how do you send a painting in the mail?
Well, normally what I'm doing is I'm not selling big ass paintings because, well, I mean, sometimes I do though, but if I am selling big ass painting, I'm boxing it up myself, my dude. Yeah. I used to be a home remodeler way back in the day with my father, so I'm kind of good with the hands, you know. So I'm able to like make boxes and like wood boxes and stuff like that. So
Okay.
I'm basically shipping all the shit out myself. Yeah.
I was gonna say, because if someone's spending like thousands of dollars, there's got to be some like thought going into how to get it.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. Especially if it's going overseas, you know.
Mhm.
But I'm very smart with my shipping. I usually paint stuff for people that's able to be rolled up, you know, and then
Yeah.
shipped in a tube,
Okay.
or small enough to where it fits in an envelope, or like a soft package of some sort, you know.
Okay. That's
But
cool.
yeah, shipping is it's a headache, bro.
I'm
It's a
sure.
headache.
I
Yeah.
used to sell records, and that was a pain enough selling records on eBay to like kids in
Yeah.
Japan who were like super picky if like the package showed up with like a wrinkle in it. You know what I mean?
Absolutely, dude. The Japanese are crazy with their mint condition.
Right. So
Yeah.
I got out of that because it was just too hardcore for me.
Yeah, man. The Japanese are great. I mean, the Japanese are wonderful people, but you know, us Americans, we take the line right here, you know, and the Japanese, they just poosh way past
Yeah.
us
Right.
as far as anything, you know.
Yep. I'm gonna let you go in a minute, but before I do,
Yeah,
since you obviously are into music, what's your soundtrack like when you do you listen to music when you're painting?
dude, this is so crazy that you asked that. I'm glad that you did ask that, is because when I used to DJ and I would go home and like just chill out, I would
Yeah.
never ever listen to music. Or when I was going to the train, to jump on the train, you know, everybody's got their headphones in. I
Yeah.
didn't never have my headphones in. I never listened to music when I DJ. But now that I paint, dude, I cannot paint quiet. I have to have music on constantly all the time. And it ranges from anywhere from Coltrane to Misfits to whoever, dude. You know what I'm saying? So it can be anything that I'm feeling that day.
I
But
think
as
what
far,
happens, this has happened to me too when when my DJing takes a back seat because I'm busy doing other things.
Mhm.
Like these days, I'm busy doing other stuff. You start listening to music, and instead of just looking for the song that you know you can play in the club,
Yep,
you just start listening to everything and realizing like how much good music is out there, and it doesn't matter if
absolutely.
it's like 95 BPMs with like a perfect drum break. You know what I mean?
Absolutely, dude. I agree with you 100% on that, because I was thinking about maybe DJing and doing artwork together, like for like a Instagram live, you know?
Mhm.
And I was like, all right, well, then I'll put a set together. And I was starting to put songs together that I like right now. And I'm like, dude, nobody's going to know this shit or even like this stuff,
Right.
you know?
Yeah.
So it's great for me now, you know, because what you're explaining, you know, like every time you like download songs, you'd be like, okay, this is my 95 BPM category, you know?
Right.
Yeah. But now I don't give a shit anymore. I'm over here listening to Mac DeMarco and shit like that.
Yeah.
Know?
Right. It's great.
Yeah.
It's very liberating once you stop
It
DJing.
is, dude. It is. I'm so happy right now with the way life is going for me right now, as far as art and just being able to listen to whatever I want and not have to worry about a full dance floor anymore.
Right. Right. All right. Well, hey man, I really appreciate you sitting down with me. Anything last you want to shout out or?
I mean, thank you for having me, Brad. I just check out my website, terryurban.com, and also my Instagram, terryurban.
Cool. What about
All
your
right,
what about your TikTok? Do you have a TikTok?
No, I do not. But all the young kids that I hang out with here, they're like, you got to get a TikTok.
All right.
Yeah.
I love it. All right, man. Well, hey, be
Yeah.
good, and I'll talk to you soon.
All right, brother.
All
Thank
right,
you.
cheers. Yep.
All right.